talking about.
Alright, so this would be Tuesday, April 9th. You don't have to shush them. I can charge her points. It's already, I got them. It's good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and begin the reading. I'm trying to the testing, the recording, the different video quality, see how it works out, so I can just see that. So you'll hear me and watch that. I'm just testing it, so don't worry about this one too much. Keeney? Put it back? That's fine. Alright, with page 1, we'll get into it, so we'll see some of the stuff we were talking about from yesterday with the different ideas and the topics. It's going to start off talking about a guy by the name of Paul Newman, who is an actor who's no longer with us, but the book is set in the 1950s, 1960s type thing, that had the greasers. If you don't know who the greasers are, if you saw the movie Grease with John Travolta and the singing and the hair slicking, it deals with that same type of people. And they're going to talk about this guy by the name of Paul Newman, who was an actor, and he was supposed to be all tough and cool. Back in the day, the movie Cars, if you saw that one, not Cars 2, but Cars 1, Doc, the old car, that was done by Paul Newman. He was the old stock car racing guy. And so if you go to get salads from McDonald's, or your parents eat salads, there's a salad dressing called Paul Newman's Own. He came up with a salad dressing line and stuff like that. So McDonald's has them. He's like, well, I've seen that. It's a McDonald's. So it's the same stuff. So that's the guy they're talking about here at the beginning. Chapter 1. When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I had only two things in my mind: Paul Newman and a ride home. I was wishing I looked like Paul Newman. He looks tough, and I don't. But I guess my own looks aren't so bad. I have light brown, almost red hair and greenish-gray eyes. I wish they were more gray, because I hate most guys that have green eyes, but I have to be content with what I have. My hair's longer than a lot of boys wear theirs, squared off in back and long at the front and sides, but I'm a greaser, and most of my neighborhood rarely bothers to get a haircut. Besides, I look better with long hair. I had a long walk home and no company, but I usually loaned it anyway, for no reason except that I like to watch movies undisturbed, so I can get into them and live them with the actors. When I see a movie with someone, it's kind of uncomfortable, like having someone read your book over your shoulder. I'm different that way. I mean, my second oldest brother, Soda, who is 16 going on 17, he never cracks a book at all. And my oldest brother, Daryl, who we call Derry, works too long and hard to be interested in a story or drawing a picture. So I'm not like them. And nobody in our gang digs movies and books the way I do. For a while there, I thought I was the only person in the world that did. So I loaned it. Soda tries to understand, at least, which is more than Derry does. But then, Soda's different from anybody. He understands everything, almost. Like, he's never hollering at me all the time, the way Derry is, or treating me as if I was 6 instead of 14. I love Soda more than I've ever loved anyone, even Mom and Dad. He's always happy-go-lucky and grinning, while Derry's hard and firm and rarely grins at all. But then, Derry's gone through a lot in his 20 years, grown up too fast. Soda Pop will never grow up at all. I don't know which way is the best. I'll find out one of these days. Anyway, I went on walking home, thinking about the movie, when suddenly I was wishing I had some company. Greasers can't walk alone too much, or they'll get jumped, or someone will come by and scream, "Greaser!" at them, which doesn't make you feel too hot, if you know what I mean. We get jumped by the socials. I'm not sure how you spell it, but it's the abbreviation for the socials, the jet set, the West Side rich kids. It's like the term greaser, which is used to class all us boys on the East Side. We're poorer than the socials in the middle class. Now, I reckon we're wilder, too. Not like the socials who jump greasers and wreck houses and throw beer blasts for kicks and get editorials in the paper for being a public disgrace one day and an asset to society the next. Greasers are almost like hoods. We steal things, drive old souped-up cars, hold up gas stations, have a gang fight once in a while. I don't mean I do things like that. Derry would kill me if I got into trouble with the police. I mean, since Mom and Dad were killed in an auto wreck, the three of us get to stay together only as long as we behave. So, Soda and I stay out of trouble as much as we can. And we're careful not to get caught when we can't. Now, I only mean that most greasers do things like that. Just like we wear our hair long and dress in blue jeans and t-shirts, or leave our shirt tails out and wear leather jackets and tennis shoes or boots. I'm not saying that either socias or greasers are better. That's just the way things are. Real quick, I'm going to show you. With the gang and his friends, the main character... Oh, what point of view is the story being told in?
First person.
First person. That's why we don't know the main character's name yet. Although he'll tell us coming up in a minute.
Pony.
It's Ponyboy is the main character telling us the story, which is a weird name, and he'll tell you it's his real name in a minute. His brother is Soda Pop. That's his real name also. His parents were special. And then Derry's the other one. What happened to the parents?
They were
died in an auto wreck.
And they're going to refer back to that too, the fact that the parents are dead. So it's just the three brothers living there. The problem is, when your parents die, is when you have to go into like adoption, or you have to get an orphanage, if you will. And so they got lucky because the oldest brother, Derry, is 20 years old. So the judge said, instead of sending you guys to an orphanage, you can stay with your brother, Derry, on one condition. What do they have to do?
Stay out of
trouble. The problem is, they hang out with a bunch of hoodlum kids. And that's because like all the kids we hang out with, they rob gas stations, drive souped up cars, skip school. Like, we hang out with all these bad kids, but we try to be the good ones. At least we try to be the good ones. And those are the friends he's going to keep referring to, like Johnny, Two-Bit, Steve, and Dally. This is coming up in just a moment here. I could have waited to go to the movies until Derry or Soda Pop got off work. They would have gone with me, or driven me there, or walked along. Although Soda just can't sit still long enough to enjoy a movie, and they bore Derry to death. Derry thinks his life is enough without inspecting other people's. Or I could have gotten one of the gang to come along. One of the four boys Derry and Soda and I have grown up with and consider family. We're almost as close as brothers. When you grow up in a tight-knit neighborhood like ours, you get to know each other real well. If I thought about it, I could have called Derry, and he would have come by on his way home and picked me up. Or Two-Bit Matthews, one of our gang, would have come to get me in his car if I'd asked him. But sometimes I just don't use my head. It drives my brother Derry nuts when I do stuff like that, because I'm supposed to be smart. I make good grades, have a high IQ and everything, but I don't use my head. Besides, I like walking. I about decided I didn't like it so much, though, when I spotted that red Corvair trailing me. I was almost 2 blocks from home then, so I started walking a little faster. Now, I'd never been jumped, but I'd seen Johnny after 4 socias got hold of him, and it wasn't pretty. Johnny was scared of his own shadow after that. Johnny was 16 then. Getting jumped is not just getting beat up. Like if it were just me and Eli and we wanted to get into a fight and throw down with each other, that's just a fight. Getting jumped is where I have a bunch of my friends and we surprise them. Like jump out of an alley, like booga booga, and then jump on top of him and start beating him while he's thrashing and kicking. That would be jumping someone. And like it's not a fair fight at all. It's all about just beating someone until they twitchy, and then running away laughing and pointing like, "We got you!" Ha! And then you're running away. Unless you try, and then that makes you cool if you do it yourself. I was sweating something fierce. Although I was cold. I could feel my palms getting clammy and the perspiration running. Bang. I knew it wasn't any use, though, the fast walking I mean, even before the Corvair pulled up beside me and 5 socias got out. I got pretty scared. I'm kind of small for 14, even though I have a good build, and those guys were bigger than me. I automatically hitched my thumbs in my jeans and slouched, wondering if I could get away if I made a break for it. I remember Johnny, his face all cut up and bruised, and I remembered how he cried when we found him, half conscious in the corner lot. Johnny had it awful rough at home. It took a lot to make him cry. I was sweating something fierce, although I was cold. I could feel my palms getting clammy and the perspiration running down my back, and I get like that when I'm real scared. I glanced around for a pop bottle or a stick or something. Steve Randall, Soda's best buddy, once held off 4 guys with a busted pop bottle, but there was nothing, so I stood there like a bump on a log while they surrounded me. I don't use my head. They walked around, slowly, silently, smiling. "Hey, Grease," one said in an over-friendly voice. "We're going to do you a favor, Greaser. We're going to cut all that long, greasy hair off." He had on a Madras shirt. I can still see it. Blue Madras. That's what the Madras design is. It's like a plaid thing. Hollister had these coming back a couple of years ago. Now they're sort of fading back out again, but it was in there. One of them laughed and then cussed me out in a low voice. I couldn't think of anything to say. There just isn't a whole lot you can say while waiting to get mugged, so I kept my mouth shut. Need a haircut, greaser? The medium-sized blonde pulled a knife out of his back pocket and flipped the blade open. I finally thought of something to say. No. I was backing up away from that knife. Of course, I backed right into one of them. They had me down in a second. They had my arms and legs pinned down. One of them was sitting on my chest with his knees on my elbows. And if you don't think that hurts, you're crazy. I could smell English leather shaving lotion and stale tobacco. And I wondered foolishly if I would suffocate before they did anything. I was scared so bad I was wishing I would. I fought to get loose and almost did for a second. Well, then they tightened up on me, and the one on my chest slugged me a couple times. So I lay still, swearing at them between gasps. A blade was held against my throat. How'd you like that haircut to begin just below the chin? Well, it occurred to me then that they could kill me. I went wild. I started screaming for soda, dairy, anyone. Someone put his hand over my mouth, and I bit it as hard as I could, tasting the blood running through my teeth. I heard a muttered curse and got slugged again. And they were stuffing a handkerchief in my mouth. One of them kept saying, "Shut him up, for Pete's sake! Shut him up!" And then there were shouts and the pounding of feet, and the socias jumped up and left me lying there, gasping. I lay there and wondered what in the world was happening. People were jumping over me and running by me, and I was too dazed to figure it out. Well, then someone had me under the armpits and was hauling me to my feet. It was Derry. "You all right, pony boy?" He was shaking me, and I wished he'd stop. I was dizzy enough anyway. I could tell it was Derry, though, partly because of the voice, and partly because Derry's always rough with me without meaning to be. "I'm okay. Quit shaking me, Derry. I'm okay." He stopped instantly. "I'm sorry." He wasn't really. Derry is never sorry for anything he does. It seems funny to me that he should look just exactly like my father and act exactly the opposite from him. My father was only 40 when he died, and he looked 25, and a lot of people thought Derry and Dad were brothers instead of father and son. But they only looked alike. My father was never rough with anyone without meaning to be. Derry, 6'2", broad-shouldered, muscular, dark brown hair that kicks out in front and a slight cowlick in the back, just like Dad's. But Derry's eyes are his own. He's got eyes that are like two pieces of pale blue-green ice. They've got a determined set to them, like the rest of them. He looks older than 20, tough, cool, smart. He'd be real handsome if his eyes weren't so cold. He doesn't understand anything that's not plain, hard fact, but he uses his head. I sat down again, rubbing my cheek where I've been slugged the most. Derry jammed his fists in his pockets. "They didn't hurt you too bad, did they?" "They did." I was smarting and aching, and my chest was sore, and I was so nervous my hands were shaking, and I wanted to start bawling. But you just don't say that to Derry. You guys know what bawling is?
Yeah, it means
cry
they're
very
crying.
hard.
Yeah, crying real hard. Not like bawling, like shit, but the bawling, like. Derry jammed his heart. "I'm okay." Soda Pop came loping back. By then I figured that all the noise I'd heard was the gang coming to rescue me. He dropped down beside me, examining my head. "You got cut up a little, huh, pony boy?" I only looked at him blankly. "I did?" He pulled out a handkerchief, wet the end of it with his tongue, and pressed it gently against the side of my head. "You're bleeding like a stuck pig." "I am?" "Look." He showed me the handkerchief, reddened as if by magic. "Did they pull a blade on you?" I remembered the voice. "Need a haircut, greaser?" The blade must have slipped while he was trying to shut me up. "Yeah." Soda is handsomer than anyone else I know. Not like Derry. Soda's movie star kind of handsome. The kind that people stop on the street to watch go by. He's not as tall as Derry. He's a little slimmer. But he has a finely drawn, sensitive face that somehow manages to be reckless and thoughtful at the same time. He's got dark gold hair that he combs back, long and silky and straight. And in the summer, the sun bleaches it to a shining wheat gold. His eyes are dark brown, lively, dancing, recklessly laughing eyes that can be gentle and sympathetic one moment and blazing with anger the next. He has Dad's eyes, but so does one of a kind. He can get drunk in a drag race or dancing without ever getting near alcohol. In our neighborhood, it's rare to find a kid who doesn't drink once in a while, but Soda never touches a drop. He doesn't need to. He gets drunk on just plain living. And he understands everybody. What they're saying with dairy is that most of the kids they hang out with get drunk, and they're going to talk about their drinking and stuff like that. But Soda Pop doesn't. He's one of those kids that just is naturally fun and outgoing, has a good time, stuff like that. So that's what they're talking about with the fact that Soda Pop never drinks. He just is like that natural, fun-loving kind of person. And there's where we'll stop for today.
Drunk people aren't always fun and loving.
That is very true. And you're going to see that coming up. They're going to give you examples of that. Just like Jaden gave me examples of ways to lose points. You're laying down with your eyes closed?
I'm listening. That's why I listen the best, because I'm imagining the book.
Oh, okay. Well, then I wouldn't do the laying down part then.
Okay, I'll slow.
That's good thinking. Okay. All right. I'm going to have you do, I'm going to have you bring, let me stop this. Stop, magic phone.